At the Halloween party, I let strangers test my outfit. My husband was watching. Even now, I can still feel the weight of his stare from across the room. Quiet, sharp, and full of disbelief. What happened that night wasn't supposed to mean anything. It was supposed to be harmless fun. But sometimes, one night is all it takes to destroy a marriage. My husband Ryan and I had been married for 5 years. Things between us weren't bad, but they weren't exciting either. We'd fallen into the same dull rhythm. Work, dinner, sleep, repeat. He was always tired and I was always lonely, craving a spark that had disappeared somewhere between bills and responsibilities. So when our friends invited us to a big Halloween party, I saw it as a chance to feel alive again. I wanted attention, laughter, something different. I spent hours picking my costume, a bold, form-fitting outfit that left little to the imagination. Ryan raised an eyebrow when he saw it. "You sure that's what you're wearing?" he asked, his tone half teasing, half concerned. I smiled and said, "It's Halloween. Everyone dresses up," but deep down I wanted him to notice me, to react, to care. The party was loud, crowded, full of flashing lights and laughter. Music thumped through the walls, and people danced in every corner. Ryan and I arrived together, but as usual, he quickly drifted off to talk with his coworkers. I stood there, drink in hand, pretending to be fine. That's when a group of guys approached me. Strangers, dressed in elaborate costumes, their faces hidden behind masks. One of them, dressed as a vampire, smirked and said, "Nice outfit. Mind if we test it for durability?" I laughed, thinking it was just a joke. The others joined in, teasing, complimenting, making playful comments. I should have walked away, but I didn't. Because for the first time in months, I felt seen, desired. So I played along. I let them touch the fabric, joke about the material, compliment how it fit perfectly. It was all supposed to be harmless. Flirting, laughter, attention. But it stopped being funny when one of them ran his hand along my back. Too slow, too deliberate. I froze for a second, my mind torn between guilt and excitement. Then I felt something else. A chill. I turned my head and saw Ryan standing across the room. His mask was off, his expression unreadable. Our eyes met. For a few seconds everything went silent. The music, the laughter, all of it faded into a heavy, suffocating quiet. He didn't move. He just watched. I pulled away from the group, embarrassed, mumbling something about needing air. My heart was racing, my stomach twisting. I expected him to come after me, to yell, to demand an explanation. But he didn't. He just disappeared. I looked for him all over the house, upstairs, outside, near the bar, but he was gone. My phone buzzed a few minutes later with a text. "I'm going home." The ride home felt endless. The whole time I told myself it wasn't that bad, that he was overreacting, that I hadn't actually done anything wrong. But when I walked into our apartment, the look on his face shattered every excuse I had built in my mind. He was sitting on the couch, still in his costume, mask tossed aside. His jaw was clenched and his eyes were cold. "Did you have fun?" he asked, his voice low and even. "Ryan, it wasn't what it looked like." He laughed bitterly. "You let strangers put their hands on you while you smiled like it was nothing. You call that nothing?" I tried to speak, but my throat tightened. "I just wanted to have fun. You weren't paying attention to me. You were..." He stood up so suddenly I flinched. "So that's your excuse? That I didn't pay enough attention, so you decided to get it from random men at a party?" The silence after that was unbearable. I could feel his anger, his humiliation, his disappointment, all of it pressing down on me like a weight I couldn't carry. "I didn't cheat," I whispered. "No," he said quietly. "But you disrespected me. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Do you even realize what that felt like?" I looked at him, tears blurring my vision. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean..." He shook his head. "You never mean it, do you? You just do what feels good in the moment and deal with the fallout later." He grabbed his jacket and walked to the door. "Ryan, please," I begged. "Don't leave like this." He stopped, hand on the doorknob, and said without turning around, "You already left me hours ago. You just didn't notice." When the door closed, it felt like the air was sucked out of the room. I sank to the floor and sobbed, but it didn't change anything. The next morning, he didn't come home. Or the next. By the end of the week, his things were gone. He'd moved in with a friend, and when I tried to reach him, he didn't answer. I sent long messages, explaining, apologizing, begging for another chance. He didn't respond to any of them. A few days later, I ran into one of his friends who'd been at the party. He said, "You know, he saw everything, right?" He was standing there for almost 10 minutes before you even noticed him. You laughed. You let them touch you. You looked like you were enjoying it. Hearing that broke me. Because he was right. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the attention, the validation, all the things I thought I needed to feel alive. I didn't realize the cost until I saw the look in my husband's eyes that night. 2 weeks later, I got divorce papers. There was no fight, no big confrontation, just a quiet end. I signed them in silence, knowing I had no one to blame but myself. Now, months later, I replay that night over and over. I remember the lights, the music, the laughter, and the moment everything stopped. I can still see his face in the crowd, the pain in his eyes, the moment love turned into something unrecognizable. I used to think cheating only happened when someone crossed a physical line. But I've learned that betrayal starts much earlier, in the moments when you choose attention over respect, ego over loyalty. That Halloween night, I didn't cheat with my body, but I cheated with my pride. And sometimes that's worse. Because love doesn't die from one big mistake. It dies from the moment someone realizes they're no longer safe in your hands. And now, I live every day knowing that I let mine go. Not because I didn't love him, but because I wanted to feel like I was still wanted. It was just a joke, just a little fun, just a costume, but to him, it was the night his wife turned into a stranger.